the sample set I'm going to be using. I'll use this one, I'm going to turn it down, maybe pick it down an octave. When I take it down an octave, it gets a different tone, and then when I take it up an octave, I'm going to be using the Maschine today. It's the MK3 model. It's got a touchpad, and it's the latest one from Maschine, Native Instruments. So I'm going to use this one to cut and sequence and record a few things inside of it. So that's what I'm going to do. Alright, so like a lot of the processes, like this one, I'll bring it through a record or through the iPhone, to record in the interface back here, because that's what's really useful about this machine is you can record your samples directly in it because there's an interface in the back. I have this interface too, but that's a good piece to use back there. So, I record the sound in there. I have this sample called, or this track called White Fire. It's by Takua Yamato, and it's just it's like this Japanese funk stuff. So, but what I did was I already spent the time to go through it, so we're not going to spend time to go through it. We're just going to go through a piece I got in the back to chop. So this is the whole thing right here in the back. So I got that last piece. It's like at the tail end of it. So there's always interesting stuff at the tail end, like with any sample. So this piece, I took pieces that I might use. So it was just that whole phrase, this whole phrase. Yeah, so it's that whole phrase. And what I do with that phrase, what I'm gonna introduce to show today is like the way you can make samples melodic. Like thinking about it, if it's own little texture with all those baby textures inside, it's just like making those things like in a three-part harmony, if you will, but with octaves. And to hear how those would change if you're using octave or a major fifth, or like those tones of a sample, because technically when you transpose the whole sample, it should fit in the same melodic structure. That's the trick of this one, is like you're feeling the time, because you also have time moving. So this is a interesting little technique where you can get different sound textures and melodies and speeds moving at the same time. So I really like that one because there's a ton of stuff in there. And what I heard from this one, so if we're going to do 3 times, so I have 3 groups ready to be sampled through Maschine. So I'm going to take the main group that it's in. It's all chopped up. I'm going to take that I'm going to duplicate that whole group and put it into the next group, because I still want the integrity of that first sample. So this next one is I want to alter this one a little bit and take it down a whole octave, and we're going to hear how that sounds. To me, it's real interesting down there, just because how the stuff shapes and sounds and molds itself, because it's going at a lower like sample rate. That's what's interesting with sampling, as opposed to MIDI sometimes. I mean like the audio texture and stuff like that. And then we'll take it again. We'll duplicate that original one to the third one, and this one we'll just take it up higher. So we'll take this next one up to 12. It's 12 semitones, which is the same steps in the keyboard, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those are also an octave of 8. So this music math and these tones is what helps shape the samples, especially when this is like works on a very interesting number system, like 4 bars or 2 bars, or the tones of how a drum sit, like how they sit like that. So I got this one loaded here, and it's like super high. Might be able to do something, but those are the raw tones, right? So as a producer, like I get really familiar with what I'm using, so I know what's kind of the tools that's inside there. There's like common audio things like saturation or filters or things that help give the sound some texture and tone to do that. right now I'm gonna wait for a second until I get kind of a thing going. And the first thing I heard was this lower one. It sounds really good to start with layering. Let's see what tempo that is. So I find the tempo in there. I tap the tempo in there. What I really like about Maschine is like it just works right off all the things. All your tools are sitting here to get started and moving. And I don't have to do too much like menu browsing and screen diving. It's like I can hop right up in here. So I tap the tempo in to find out where that's good, to sink into that tone instead of making it fit into a tone I want. So this is a technique too to find that. And then once we chop those to pieces, it'll get inside there. So we got this one. Make a pattern, just 4 bars real quick. So, boom, got that first layer, that thread in there. So I'm gonna go back and hear the other ones, how they sound. Yeah, that's good. It's good for that. So this is the higher version of it. This is the octave up. So when we took at the main sample of this, we got an octave down, which is pitch shift 12 down to this one. And then we got the last one that's pitch shift high up. So I like to start with the deep one first, and then find the other textures from there. So I was just trying to hear it, just trying to give it a feel. Like that's a little something that could go in there. I'm just playing with it to figure something out. So what's this one? So maybe I'll tighten up this wave now. So I'm just jumping in there deep to fix. Maybe I use that as like a key. So then now it'll stay up there. So I can just start like this. Or do some no repeats. So what I'm gonna do real quick is I'm gonna layer this one back out. Alright, so I'm using a little bit of this touchpad, so that requires some automation. So there's an auto button you hit right here, shift auto, and we're gonna record that tone into there. I think there's 4 bars, and then we're gonna get this next tone up there. Get out a mixer. I get into events. Events show my timeline right on the screen, and I'm gonna record this in, which was I think it was and then filter for the second bar. So we printed that in there. Let's see how it turned out. Cool, went in there, recorded in there. So let's see how that's textured. So that's the one sample, and then we bring in the texture of the second one. So it fills out those lows, those mids, and the highs. This one, I'm trying to think out what to do with this one. Maybe we'll layer some stuff. I just put some funky off, like it jerks, it moves around, you know. So just sometimes. This new update with Maschine is dope because I don't have to put the patterns. I'll just fly it and it'll punch in 4 for me right now. Watch. So it's cool. I didn't have to set my bar length. It just remembered my bar length. So it's cool. It's inside there. Take those layers off real quick. I'm gonna come back to this other layer, which was interesting, right? Because we got to see how we can use it outside of just the crash, right? Let's see how we can do it. So got that little piece in there. Maybe we'll tighten up the edit a little bit so it doesn't cling too much. That's still pretty, that little sound. So I'm gonna put an effect on this sound only. I'll hit sound, I'll go over, I'll punch in a simple delay or a beat delay. Maybe a little more. Make it go faster for the 8. Alright, there we go. That's a good sound. So I'm gonna record that in, and that's pretty much gonna get to us to a foundation. Back in that 3rd layer. So we got all those 3 layers in there right now. We have the top layer. Just doing that. It's got a little delay on it, so it stretches out the length of the piece we want to do. It's got that little texture of the drum roll in it too. And then bring in the next layer, the mid layer. It'll come back around. Last one, the bottom layer. There you go. There's the layers of the melodic, like sampling. So. What up, though? Sacremento Knox checking in from the AutoZocon. Big shout out to Spin Inc. For doing this beautiful work today. I just want to talk about where you can find me at. It's on social media, different ones, Facebook, Instagram. I'm also streaming on all the platforms and SoundCloud and YouTube, so you can check my music out there. Make releases about every quarter, so there's always something interesting there. Currently, I'm working on a few like scoring projects. I just scored this piece that fits in a museum in London, so there's this thing happening with how the industrial revolution, how it changes landscapes and people's lifestyle. So I had to score this live piece that sits in the museum. So it sits with that. I recently did a project with the water with the Detroit Science Gallery. I sampled the Detroit River, and I made drums and synths out of it, and then I performed a whole concert out of that live, like jazz style, but with beats, and I used a couple more of the gear to play live with. Today I'll use Maschine to get these ideas and go through, but and currently working on all types of things musical that sits outside of trying to do a #1 hit single. I feel like I was asked to speak about the ways in which music brings lots of other values, and it does. It can uplift your community, it can supplement your community. You can enter these educational programs in places where you're able to access this technology and world, and also leads to a lot of potential gig work, like performance, licensing, where you can put your music. There's independent projects, so you can, get up with your cousin and shoot a movie, or contract music and stuff like that too. So there's a lot of things happening. It's beautiful. Music is a big, beautiful culture and like economics that deals with music. So it's fruitful if you have a really good heart. You do good things. You got a good mind. Music will always take care of you. So. All right, big huge thank you to Spin Inc. And don't forget to check out DMAC Shawty Valley Music Festival coming raw in 2020 and based in Detroit. So.